And shake it and lock it. Hey, what up, everybody? Welcome to episode 13 of Let's Talk Lock-In with Little B and Kai Star. This is the podcast where we talk about everything Campbell locking. We stream on YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram live. If you're watching us live, thank you for joining us. We'd love to see you in the chat. If you're watching the replay, welcome, and we appreciate if you could subscribe, share, and leave some comments for us. Joining us today is our guest from the Hoodlockers up in Philly. This is Riot and Glytch.
What up, everybody? What up, what up, what
Hey,
up, what up?
come
I'm
on,
sorry,
y'all.
Lil B.
Yeah, if you guys would like to introduce yourselves really quick, feel free, man.
Um, yeah. Um, what up, everybody? This is Drew, aka Riot the Virus. I represent the Hoodlockers, by way of Philly. Um, yeah.
Sounds good, Glitch.
Yeah, I'm Ricky, aka Glitch, repping the Hood Lockers, uh, from Jersey, currently living in Philly. Um, yeah, pretty simple.
I guess I should mention I'm originally from Jersey as well.
I did not
So
know that.
yeah, we
Shoot.
actually all from the same areas.
Right.
Oh, word.
Yeah. Um, all from the same area. Mark, Drew, and we all went to the same high school, but they had graduated like a year before I got there. Maybe
Oh,
2 years,
dang.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. We graduated in 2000.
From high
Yeah,
school?
Oh, that's wait in 2000.
Yeah, that's when I graduated. Yep.
yeah, that was the year that I went. I was going the next year actually.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so you guys are all in like your early 40s for the
Yes,
most
sir.
part.
Yep, I'm 43. I'll be 44 in January.
Man, y'all don't look it.
Yeah, I'm 38.
Seriously? Oh, you're 38.
Yeah,
Oh, so that means that
We're the same age.
yeah, same age as Lil B. Cause I'm right in the middle. I'm like 39.
Okay, okay.
gotcha.
Welcome,
We're all
welcome to the party, bro. You'll be there soon.
I know it's coming up, dude. I did like my birthday this year was one of those. Am I really gonna celebrate this? Cause it's coming up.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, right now I'm just like, this is another day. Usually when it's my birthday, I gotta work, so I really don't get to do anything.
I
I
feel
understand
you.
that. Yeah, dude. This is my birthday at the end of August, and still working. Not doing anything
Belated
else but
birthday.
working.
Happy belated birthday, man. At least you got another year until you at the 4-0.
Oh man,
right.
don't remind me. My wife turns 40 this year, and I'm still trying to figure out what to do for her birthday.
Ooh,
I'm gonna get you a
ooh.
stamp that says OG.
You put that out on live like that. You should have
Right.
already had that wrapped up, bro.
Sweet. So with that in mind, let's talk about like what do you guys have coming up? Like, are you guys um judging anywhere? I know that Glitch will be doing Crystallize soon, so if you want to talk about that as well.
Um, yeah. Well, shout out to the homie Keegan. For reaching out. Like he's been a long time friend. Um, and you know, he pretty much reached out to me and was like, "Yeah, I would like to, have me teach a workshop and judge." And I'm looking forward to that. It's been a while since I've been to that side of the world. I have family-in-law out there, so I tend to see them. And usually, when I'm in Toronto, I try to pay Keegan a visit. Usually, you know, we interesting. I guess how can I say it? like way of like connecting, I guess, because it was through my wife Jess that, and when we would um when we would travel over to Toronto to hang out with my wife's family, that's kind of where I met Keegan first. It was like during like a hustle workshop or class, something that she went to. Keegan actually set up a locking workshop for me out there,
Mm-hmm.
which was like super dope. And then, you know, on the flip side, like I roller skate all the time, so I was like, yo, like, I'm cool with coming out there as long as we get to hit the rink up. And you know, up until that point, he hadn't really been skating like that. Like, he dabbled in it, but once he saw like how much you could do on skates, and like that's when he bugged out. So now he's like to the moon with the shit. Like he got like representing Rydell and all kinds of classes and stuff like that. But
Yeah, he's in a
it
book
was
now.
right. He's in a book, man. This guy's a legend on wheels. But it was kind of it was super dope, and he's we've always been a good friend. So I really appreciate the way he's just been in our corner. I'm looking forward to going out to Toronto, sharing the knowledge and vibing.
That's
That's really
dope.
yeah, that's exciting, man.
Yeah,
He had me out a couple years ago, maybe like 2018, 2019, and man, like yeah, Toronto takes care of you, man. That's so I'm excited for you.
right.
Yeah, I was out there. Probably the year.
I think the
What,
year
what,
after.
yeah, I think the year after. Yeah. That's I had a blast. The event was super dope. I think the dopest thing about the event was that everybody was dancing. And everybody was dancing together. Um, and it was just like it just felt like it felt like a real community. Everybody really interested in one another. Everybody really supporting one another. I had a blast. I had a blast. Keegan took real good care of me, man. Really did.
That's dope. That's coming up.
Yeah.
Is it next weekend? 2 weeks?
Like two
The
or 3 weeks,
12th.
October 12th.
Yeah.
October 12th. So yeah, two weeks from now.
hmm
Man, I
And
saw
also,
that Tosh was judging, and I was like, let me look at the plane tickets. That's a little pricey.
look,
So
I wanted to go too. When Ricky told me that he was going, I was like, oh, all right. Well, I guess we going. But we actually have we have a party that we throw every 3 months called Soul Flow. So and actually it was put together by Ricky. It's kind of like his baby. Um, and so we're going to be holding down the fort while he goes. That's also on October 12th too.
oh, I
If you
love
want to
that.
look at it.
That's dope.
Yeah,
I would like to come out for that. But I love the crew mentality, man. One person goes,
yeah,
represents, and the other ones hold it down.
yeah. Well, look, they had to convince me because I was going to go. I love Toronto. I had a blast when we were out there. So, but yeah, yeah, it is definitely dope. I think it's super dope. For all of us to be able to kind of like do different things and you know be able to reach different communities at the same time, uh, whether it be abroad or home. Um, it's super nice.
Do you guys have a guest DJ for Soulflow this time?
Yeah,
Yes, we do.
Buddha Stretch.
Where,
Buddha Stretch.
Yeah, he
sir?
actually he was the first when we first started doing the party. He was like one of the first people that I reached out to. And you know, the idea behind Soulflow wasn't even supposed to be what it is. It was actually an idea that came from our crew member Tyler and his girl Lily, and they were taking my locking class in Philly, but they were, Tyler had got a job in London, so they're going to be leaving that summer, like last year, and so they wanted to just kind of do something that brought the community together because up until that point there wasn't really too many like locking events or even funk based events in Philly. Like, I feel like the last one prior to Soul Flow might have been what was it, second Sunday when we had the lock and battle.
Probably, yeah. I mean, Philly's like Philly is major like it's a breaking. I call it a breaking town. B-boying is very prominent here. So a lot of and they throw a lot of they obviously at breaking events are always playing some good shit. Excuse my language. But we can speak freely in here, right? Or do I have to should I hold back?
You good, man.
You're,
Okay.
we're all
You
adults.
you be you.
Okay, good. So yeah, but kids should be asleep by now. Past their bedtime. Um Yeah, so it's a it's a, like a heavy b-boy town. So but obviously at all the b-boy events they always play some really good music, but there's not really an event dedicated to or there haven't been that many events dedicated to locking, to popping. We kind of always had to kind of either go to breaking events or house events or all style events to kind of get our mojo off, so to speak. Having this event was actually a great opportunity, not only just for people that dance a particular style, but just for people just to come out and just have fun. Um, a lot of majority of the people that come out, they're from the dance community, but our dance community is super huge, and it's comes from all dancers come from all different walks of dance. If that makes any sense.
Diverse.
So yeah, so it's a beautiful thing. It really is. You guys should come out sometime.
Man, I would love to hit up Philly.
Yeah, man. If you need a guest DJ, you know to ask.
I already know. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we actually have another dude in the IG talking about Fly Funk, Rebel Foster, Foxy Rock, and Soulflow,
Yeah,
sorry,
Fly Funk was
as the
another
parties
one.
in Philly.
Yep.
Yeah, Fly Funk was another one, and Rebel's a an amazing DJ. Um, he's another one of those dancers DJs that can just play anything.
Hmm.
Um, you know, and I plan on trying to keep this Soulful party going. Um, and I've reached out to him, so he's definitely on the radar for trying to keep that vibe. It's a way that it's not just about like the DJ, even though like Stretch is an amazing DJ. It's a certain way that you curate the entire party, and that's what's special about it. Like it's not just any funk thing where we're just throwing music on. It's someone like Stretch can take you on a journey. The ambiance, like we literally have a projector screen in the background and got like Soul Train footage and like locker footage just playing on loop the entire time. Um, we make sure the Soul Train line happens. Like it's so many like different little things, and it's still in its early stages. I want to get to a space where like I actually have the scramble board contest, same way that
Oh,
we did
dope.
on Soul Train. I'm just trying to get big enough scramble board for that. But I want to start doing stuff like that and like really setting that party apart and letting it be something that everybody can come to and enjoy.
Man, that sounds amazing. I mean, like Philly has such rich history, and
Mm.
for you guys to put that all together is really really tight. I guess I'll use that as a segue then, because like with your background and all of your the Hoodlockers as a group, if I could have you guys talk about like your own origins and your personal origins as a group, because I see Professor Lock joining in on the IG stream. So like Hoodlockers, talk to me about you guys.
Um, well, I'll try my best. I'm really horrible when it comes to talking about myself or anything like that. So I'll try my best.
Oh,
But I think I I'll speak from my journey where my journey started, and I was actually a singer at first. Um, but in high school, me and Epic started dancing. Me and Epic have been friends since high school. We're talking like since eighth grade, high school, middle school. Um, and we didn't really start the we actually the crazy thing is that dancing wasn't really the focus when we first met. Well, dancing was the reason that we met, but it wasn't the focus because we also had other interests, other similar interests. Like draw, me and him both love to draw. We love Bruce Lee. Just a lot. We both love sports, so there were a lot of similarities between the things that we like. And we actually met at an eighth grade dance. Um, we actually battled each other at eighth grade dance. Um, we actually moonwalked into each other. We moonwalked into each other. We looked at each other, and we started like battling, going back and forth with our Michael Jackson moves. And that's kind of how we first like really connected. Um, but to just skim along, um, it wasn't until like 12th grade where we really started getting into dance. Um, and again, I was a singer. I've been a singer my whole life, so dance was like a secondary thing for me. Singing was like a really like my primary focus. When I got out of high school and when I started getting into the world, I was still singing. I was still trying to do like the whole like get a record deal thing with my singing group at the time. And mind you, Mark Mark had moved to Philly and was all started dancing with a dance company out of Philadelphia called Chosen Dance Company. And I remember meeting him in the city because I would come from Jersey to the city to meet him and to chill on the weekends. And then I would go back to my group and then, we would be recording or whatever. So I came out one weekend. And mind you, me and Mark, to my knowledge, we were like we loved to dance, but we had started focusing on breaking a little bit more toward the end of high school. So when I came to Philly and met up with him, he was like, "Yo, man, I just started working with this guy, Clyde, man. He's showing me all this stuff, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, "Oh, word." And then he showed me like a locking routine, Campbell locking routine that Clyde made that he taught him. And he when he started doing that routine, like my mind, like it was like because up to that point, when I thought about Campbell locking, it wasn't Campbell locking to me. It was the rerun. If you come from an African American setting anywhere in America and you start doing that, the old head's gonna be like, "Oh, look, he doing a rerun. All right, look, he doing a rerun." So that's what I knew it as. But Mark was like, "No, this is locking, and it's got a whole history. It's got a bunch of vocabulary, and when I saw that, I was just like, that's when I kind of like subconsciously made a choice that I was going to quit singing and start dancing. Um, so that's kind of when my dance journey, actually, my education and everything actually started. Um, so me and Mark have been like, two peas in a pod, Ken and Ryu, or, that's kind of like the relationship that we have. And so we have been dancing for a while. Mark, we danced in the clubs. Shampoo, Egypt was it? These were clubs that we were dancing in. Maui. These were all clubs in Philly on Delaware Ave or Columbus Ave, whatever you want to call it. Um, so that was like our playground where we kind of developed our dance, developed our attitude, yada yada yada. That was also where we met Jay Peasy and Bryce. We met them in the club. Actually, we met them in the club, seen them around, because these boys had these Nintendo jackets. They came in as a crew. Their crew was called Faceless. And they used to always come in the club with these Nintendo jackets on. And Mark could probably explain this to you a lot better because he was actually talking to them. I was more or less like I was like Wolverine. Like I don't talk to me. I'm trying to kill something. Don't talk to me. Like I had that kind of attitude towards them because they, at the time, that's just kind of where my mentality was. Um, but I'll never forget the first time that we actually bonded without actually really knowing each other was at an event that we have in the city called the Gathering. Now this event it happens every last Thursday of the month, and this is where basically all the dancers come to get down. Um, and this particular night, um, somebody decided they wanted to call out Philly versus Jersey. Now, mind you, Bryce and Josh, along with Kenny, I think Derek might have been there. KDI, Captain Pop, he might have been there. Can't remember who was there, but I just remember somebody saying Philly versus Jersey. Now, mind you, back in the day, I didn't have these long locks that you see here. I actually had short blonde hair. I was Cisco, Crisco. That's what you want to call it, right? So they called out Philly versus Jersey, and so Josh and them, they all get on one side, and then the whole everybody else get on the other side. So me and Mark looking, and then we just basically walked over on the side like, nah, we got y'all back. We from Jersey too. They didn't know. They thought we was because we wore red all the time, because red was our favorite color. They thought we was the blonde haired bulls, the blonde haired bloods. Everybody thought we was bloods, and they was like, yeah, these bloods with blonde hair. They joined our side and they started battling with us. So that was kind of like the first time we actually shedded blood together, quote unquote. Um, pardon the pun. But yeah, so that was that's kind of like how we got connected with them. Um, and once we got connected with them, we started a dance company with their crew and our crew. And basically, because me and Mark came from our b-boy crew, which is Illadelph Flave, shout out to Illadelph Flave, um, and they came from Faceless, we came together and created Face the Flave. And that basically was like, it was our it was a dance company, but it was more along the lines of education, where we would go out to schools, go out to colleges, go out to events, and we would basically do lecture demonstrations on the history of the different dance styles within street dance and hip hop culture. We would talk about them, and then we would demonstrate. So that was kind of like the moment that we all started really dancing together. But locking, for some odd strange reason, was something that was always like the major thing when it came down to all of us together. Even when me and Mark, before we met them, we were locking, but once we all got together, we started locking even more. Um, and the beautiful thing about that was that, you know, Josh, JPZ, he didn't even want to. JPZ didn't really want to dance like that. Bryce wanted to dance, but he was also working at Source Magazine. So he would only come out to the practices on the weekend. And I used to sit down with him and have a lot of talks with him and tell him, like, yo, you gotta make a choice, on what you want to do, da 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 da. Just kind of, supporting him. I told him to do what's best for his life, Um, but PZ, he didn't, you know, I don't remember this because I was in a whole nother world around that time. But per Epic and PZ, PZ didn't want to dance. PZ heard a song. PZ got up and started dancing, and they never stopped. so, um, so that was kind of like, Lock-In really kind of really brought us together. It wasn't really until 2006, um, when after me and Mark came back from a tour in London. Actually, before we left for London, we were already kind of like we were creating shows and training with them. We left. When we came back, we got an opportunity from a hip hop dance choreographer and educator, Dr. Rennie Harris from Rennie Harris Pure Movement. He shout out to Rennie, RHPM. Um, he actually gave us an opportunity to be on a show called Legends of New York. Legends of It was like New York Legends. It was basically a show, an off Broadway production, um, that basically had all the pioneers of these dance styles. Pop Master Fable was there. Fluky Luke was there. Um, who else was there? Ejo, Kali, Marjorie. I mean, it was just a bunch of people. and that's kind of like where we started the Hood Lockers. Epic can explain it a little bit better, but because you know I'm just I'm just me. So I'm around and I'm aware, but my mind sometimes be somewhere else just because of life. But that's kind of when we kind of really formed the Hood Lockers. Um, and yeah, I hope that wasn't too much.
No, that's a lot, dude. That's great.
That's
I
that's
hope
that's
that wasn't too much. You said no, that's a lot.
No, I mean like in a good way.
yeah.
Because you were saying that you're not good at talking about yourself, and I was like, that was amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Because I don't like leaving nothing out. I don't like saying things. That's just how I am.
I hear it, man. Like so I'm gonna Kennen Ryu that and Hadouken that over to Glitch, man. Let me let me hear let's hear your story, bro.
Um, so yeah, my journey through a little bit different. Um, I really didn't get into dance until probably high school, I'd say. Um, Now, growing up, dance and music was always around. Um, I was fortunate to have some very cool aunts and mothers that were like fruit and club goers and stuff like that. So I was into dance and hip hop culture, but still unaware of like everything that it was. And so there were certain movies that would always catch my attention. Like I think House Party is probably the first movie I saw where like dance. I went to the movies on that. I don't know how, but I think I was like, and so they just kind of like drugged me along because I knew I was way too young to see that movie. But I remember going to the movies and seeing House Party and watching like dance on like the screen. I was like, whoa, this is like cool as hell. This is like the first time I've ever seen anything like it. And these like um, little moments in my life where like dance was always had me in some way um, attached or attracted to it. Breaking Two was one of the other movies that had came out, um, and I started to see like some crazy stuff in there, like Turbo dancing on the walls and the ceiling was probably like one of the most like crazy things I ever saw. So much I even tried to do it. I didn't know that it wasn't possible, but I just thought that was like I thought that joint was so dope. And I was like, man, the guy's like dancing on the wall. I don't know how I was doing it, but then you start to see these styles, and then um, Soul Train at the time that was like '90s era, so you know dance was there, but nothing funk. But it was coming on. It was on Saturday mornings, and I'd have most here watch some cartoons and turn over Soul Train and watch like dance movies and videos and shows. So I think by the time middle school came around and we started having these school dances, I just that was the place where I just kind of like let loose and whatever I saw on TV, I was just trying to like do that. And high school was a tough adjustment for me. I was always a friendly person, but I feel like I had trouble trying to fit in, and it was like that one thing that allowed me to be comfortable and accepted. And so it just was something that I knew I was going to get attention and just kept at it. And I ended up finding a couple of friends that shared the same passion. Shout out to my friends, my homie Marshall. Like we had grew up in high school together, pretty much dancing recreationally, just doing whatever. A, a lot of the footage that we were even like privy to have came from I'd say two sources at the moment at that time. Mr. Wiggles had like some VHS tapes and some DVDs out, so like that somehow was like circulating when I was like fortunate to get that. So one of my first like introductions was like watching him do all these crazy tuts and stuff like that. But he also like did breaking and everything in there. And then there was the Freshest Kids, which was another DVD that my homie Edwin had, and we would go to his house and we would just watch it, and just like even then at that time I still couldn't even process like all this stuff that was going on. I just knew like this was like a bunch of cool stuff. And one of the things that stood out was when rerun would talk about locking, it had like set off something because I remember watching what's happening along with like Soul Train. There was reruns of what's happening on the time, no pun intended. But that's when we saw that character like, oh, that's the rerun. Like same way as Drew said, like we knew locking as the rerun before anything else because that's what we saw doing it. And DVD like the Freshest Kids helped us like kind of figure these things out. So the group of friends that I was with, we kind of like made it like a little crew, like but everybody kind of had like their specialty and what they kind of gravitated towards. Even though we were trying to like, some of us were trying to pop, we all did like a little bit of breaking, and I definitely was like, all right, I'm gonna try to do this locking thing. I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but I'm gonna try it. And by our senior year of high school, we had pretty much worked our way up to being known as like the those dancers in the school, like the popular like guys that did it. And there was a talent show at the end of the year. So you know, oh yeah, this story, yeah. So there was a talent show at the end of the year where we got our crew together, we performed. Like everybody knew we was going to like shut it down. The auditorium was like packed, and we went crazy. Every crowd went crazy. But there was a advisor at the time had hired a special guest, a group of dancers that was making a name for themselves. It just so happened to be faceless, and so literally, when we got to the school, we were we had to get changed, so we went to the bathroom. Pause and on any of this, but this is where like we met them, like them in the actual bathroom because they were getting changed at the same time. And so he's like, "Yo, what's up?" Da, 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 da. Yeah, because we didn't know who they were, but we knew that they were right. And so they go on stage, and JP's gonna tell you this, you know, in his own way, but apparently the crowd went crazier for them than they did for us because they came out, they did the human helicopter trick and did a bunch of crazy stuff. I mean, my side of the story is I know that the next day everyone said that we killed it, but I'll let them have that moment of glory. But right, but after the show, we had met up in the parking lot, and we were just like, they had these track jackets on and stuff like that. Next thing you know, Bryce started popping, and it turned into like a little like exchange, a little battle. But at that point, we still didn't know what the heck we was doing. So Bryce was like, straight up. So we would start going to the clubs, going to Shampoo, going to Egypt, and every week, they'd be there. It'd be me, my homie Edwin, Marshall, Sean came every once in a while, but he went down a different path, and just life was life. But we started going every week, just being in these spaces and just learning and just trying to get better. So between the clubs, going to the gathering, we were like immersed in this culture and all this stuff was happening in Philly. So this is like where the meetup was. Um, and one night in we had Shampoo had like three or four like different rooms. It was like the main floor. It was like another big space outside. They had like foam pit and all the other stuff. But then there was this room called the Funk Room, and this is where it's like this small like little blue room upstairs in the cut, and this is like where the b boys would be at, and this is also where like Mark and Drew were at. Like they were up there, like and it was Mark, Drew. I think like Ooze was up there as well. Like I mean, I feel like all the flavors up there and that's where like all the funk heads were. So I was like, I want to go to that room, right? And that's kind of where, um, to the best of what I thought I could do, I tried to do like a lock and rerun. I remember my phone falling out of my pocket, so I picked it up and I played it off like I was dancing with it. It was very connected. It turns out that my homie Marshall is at, and that's where like the meetup there happened. Huh?
I'm sorry, you cut out. Did it cut out for y'all too, or is that just me?
Little bits here and there.
Yeah, here and there, but
You're good. You can keep going, Ricky.
no, keep going.
Oh. So once once that happened, that's when we started linking up and meeting up with Drew because Drew had footage. You know, we went to Drew's house and he actually like taught me my first couple of like steps. It was actually popping first. Like I remember like Fresno or something like that. I remember that. But he also like footage, and it was through that I guess at that time Face to Flave was like kind of in development, and so they were already working together. I had went to college that in the fall. Marshall stayed behind, and he got down with the crew Face to Flave, and he would come to my campus every once in a while, and he'd show me the routines that and show me everything that he learned. I was like, man, I want to do that. So every time I would come back home, I'd go and try to train and learn with them. Um, and Epic, um, you know, at the time was like, I'd say like was the leader because he was like the fourth person. I was talking to him, and he like, um, opened me with welcome arms, like, just come through. And so I'd be at these practices, just learning everything I could. And again, this was like a back and forth thing because I was going to school in North Jersey, so whatever information I could get, I was there. I was close to New York, so I would go to the clubs and stuff up there. House Dance Conference was like that was kind of start to learn who the pioneers were. But while I was training with Face the Flave, we Rennie had actually um, gave us a chance to go and learn from the legends because he had this festival every summer called Ill Death Legends, which is where he brought all the pilot workshops and he had like sessions and panel discussions and all that. And so that was where I really got to meet like the pioneers of all these styles, and that just like it set me on the path. I was like, yo, this is like exactly what I want to do. Um, And so after training for a while, I was able to make it into the crew. You had to learn, at least three styles because at these lecture demonstrations, in order to, talk about this stuff, you got to be able to do it. So I had to go through a lot to learn those things and then learn the shows. But then I got to that point where I was able to, be a part of that movement. The Hoodlockers was a special like group of like individuals where I was a fan of it, but I wasn't part of it yet. Like I still had a ways to go and a lot to learn. But again, I was very enthusiastic about the whole process, even though it was tough. They don't make it easy at all.
I don't want to make it. I don't want to make it like a really long conversation, just so we can keep things
Yeah,
moving. But can you name some of like like your OGs and some of like your like pioneers that really inspired you in Philly? Because as someone in LA, like I don't really know like who are the Philly people outside of like Moncel and Rennie.
Uh, well, I mean, you got to talk about. Well, for me, I have to talk about Clyde Evans. Um, Clyde really not only did he open up, what he knew. He opened up his home. He opened, he gave us a lot of knowledge, gave us a lot of positivity. He always spoke positively. And uh, I think he was very important. I mean, for me, he was extremely important in my journey. So I would call him definitely because his style of locking, his style of Campbell locking was the first style that I learned, like the way that he does it. It's but aside from Clyde Evans, you got Cricket, James Cricket Coulter. You got Rad. Raphael. Um, who else? You got man. Uh, you got Brandon Peace Albright. You got a group like the Untouchables. Um, uh, Shout out to Councilman Hill. Um, you had man, bro. Man, this
I feel like a lot.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like at for me at the time, aside from my brothers being the inspiration, it really was, it was Moncel, it was Rennie. I wasn't part of Chosen, so I can't say that I learned right from Clyde, but I knew of Clyde, and I knew of Brandon and all of these like pioneers. But I feel like a lot of us were like learning the stuff at the same time, and there were people that were growing like simultaneously and learning. Like was someone else that when I would go to the clubs and I would see him dance, like he was inspiring. Um, there were
You talk
dance
about Little Ho?
overall was no, I was talking about no, Vince.
Oh, Vince. Oh, okay.
Yeah, like Vince was another one that was a huge influence. Like there was a small group of people that were like focused specifically on locking and like actually like doing it. It was the OGs, and then I feel like it was us.
Yeah, Vince. He owns a studio out here called Urban Movement Arts. It's on 21st and Chestnut, and that's he's actually when we first connected with Moncel, Bill Cosby, and started dancing, he was actually working with Moncel. I'm talking about Vince Funky Van Gogh is what we call him. So when we connected with Moncel, we would always Vince would always be there. So we all kind of like I think that's kind of where we started developing our locking a little bit because we started to gain a lot of knowledge from Moncel. Moncel actually would make us identify. He would identify what we were doing, and if we didn't know what we were doing, he would tell us, "Yo, y'all doing this? Y'all know y'all doing this?" Because a lot of times when we're dancing, we're it's straight from the heart. All we got is really our life experiences, and most of us, I know for me, when I'm dancing, I'm thinking about when I'm at my family reunion, when I'm around my mom, my aunts, when they all drunk, and I'm a little kid walking around and like, you know what I mean, like that's kind of so everything that I did, especially when it came to Campbell locking, it was all straight from just my life experience. I mean, and it still is. But Marcel really kind of was the one that really sat us down. Was like, all right, there's some social dances in here that you guys are doing that you guys need to understand, and you need to know the history. And you need to, he was the one that really made us aware that not only was it important for us to have the movement, but we also had to know the history and the knowledge behind it. And to be quite honest, when I realized that, that's when I dedicated my life to dance. Because before that, it was just an outlet for me to just kind of get out everything, every young kind of thing that I was going through at the time, you know, and it made me happy. And I just wanted to always. I mean, I was always active. I played football. I played sports when I was younger. I was always active. You couldn't sit me down in gym class. I was laughing at the people that didn't want to take gym because I thought they were stupid. I was like, "Yo, you get to run around and play and what? Like, well, come on." But when I found breaking and when I found dance, I realized, oh snap, there's another outlet for me to kind of like still be me but be me in the most honest because again I'm a singer. I come from singing like class like I was in church choir, I was in All South Jersey choir, I was in my high school choir. Like I took singing was a big deal. I come from like a family of like my mom dated a guy that was in the band. My uncle was in the band. My uncle played guitar, bass. Like um, the arts and music is just kind of like a part of my DNA. So yeah, when Moncel kind of like sat us down and was like, "Yo, this is now this is that, this is this." I started to see, oh snap, there's some substance to the movement. There's not just movement. There's actually, okay, you moving, why? Where did it come from? Da 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 da. Like the history. Like I was just like, it just blew my mind. Um, yeah.
No, that's dope because I think that a lot of people who have started on this journey of candle locking don't have a lot of that prior knowledge of just being around family and the music, that you're just kind of doing what you did around your what you felt around your family, and then later you were able to put, quote unquote, a label to it, like this is the history, this is the move, this is the movement, and then it develops into the culture. So I
Right.
think
Yeah.
I think that's really cool to like hear from that side of things, because a lot of us who started out a lot later like won't even know it as like the rerun dance.
Mhm.
It's just you actually get introduced to it as locking, like in like the
Right.
last 20 years, right? But yeah,
Right.
thank you
Right.
guys for sharing your story, because
Yeah, we're also on the East Coast too, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Well. I can't speak for the West Coast. I can only speak for the East Coast. And I know on the East Coast, yeah, it was known as the rerun. Like all my parents knew it as the rerun. When I watched my mom try to lock, she was, or when she was trying to do the rerun, like I mean that's that was like I have so many vivid memories of dancing in the living room with my mom, and my mom doing like doing the moves, the lock, trying to do the lock, trying to do the points and stuff. But it's most people when most people that try to do the rerun, it's like the arms go up and then they halfway point, but then start to jump and then like
Right.
but
they go
Yeah,
big
yeah.
yeah,
eyed and everything. Look over here, look over there. I guess
yeah.
like
So the crazy thing also is that the very first locker that I met was Fred Berry. I actually met him at a breaking event in Drexel, the college out here. Excuse me.
Oh,
And huh?
so that must have been towards like around like the 2000, like 90, like late 90s, early, like before 2003, before he
This
passed.
was yeah. This was 2000. This is actually 2000. It was in the winter. It was winter. Actually, yeah. This is I think like January of 2000. I know specifically because I had the flu that day, and Epic had to pull me out of my house to go to this event, and I was like sick. It was also probably some of the best breaking I ever did while I was sick too. Um, but yeah, at the end of the event, I seen him just sitting there, and I'm just like, "Is that rerun?" And at the time, my Epic had let me use his Adidas shell toe sneakers, and I ain't have nothing. I just knew I wanted to get his autograph, so I took the sneakers. Was like, "Yo, can you sign my sneakers?" And he signed my sneakers and everything. He was like, "Oh, I like what you're doing, man. Keep it up." Um, but again, the weirdest thing about that is that at that time he was doing a rerun. It was rerun, and the dance he was doing was a rerun. I was a b-boy, so I was in my whole b-boy mode. I would have never guessed in the middle. It's kind of like my same deal with the language French. It's like one of those things. Like I took French when I was in high school, partly, not partly, mostly because that's where a lot of the girls were at. So I took French for like 4 years. I learned a little bit, but didn't learn enough. And then years later, I wound up in Paris with Ricky. And I'm like, yo. So I'm just like, when I think back to that time of being around him, in my mind, I'm like, yo, why didn't I? Should have asked him. I could have got so much, but that's how life works sometimes. At least for me, twice.
I feel that. I'm a read off something from Bryce, actually,
Oh,
just for you guys, because I want to segue into something. But he says,
perfect.
so Bryce, Professor Locke, if you guys know him better by that name, he says, "This is not a question, just flowers. I'm grateful to my brothers. I don't connect as much with them as being on the other side of the ocean, but I'm very clear that outside of God first, without them, I would not be where I am today. And yes, Riot, Drew, you gave me the courage to make the choice to dance. Epic taught me to navigate dance with strength. PZ showed me what loyalty looks like. Rookie shows the strength of patience and quiet observation. I speak of y'all daily. Love y'all. Man,
You said that was right.
that was Bryce. Yeah, he yeah, that boy can type, huh?
Yeah, you too, bro. Thank you, man.
Yeah, I
Dog.
Man.
man, that is
That's my dog.
beautiful.
Yeah,
It's like
that's my dog.
occurring to me as I'm hearing you guys' story that it is actually a huge deal to bring you guys on for me, because the Hoodlockers is a name that I've heard pretty much since the start of my career. Because I started like '07, and then the East Coast, I hear whispers of a firelock, and then I hear about the Hoodlockers. Not like I got to see. There wasn't much footage of you guys back then, but I hear about you guys, and just hearing the stories now, knowing that we're like about 20 years deep into this, or more for you. We have such a history. You guys especially have such a history to share and tell. And what I've always loved about you guys, I can tell, because I've met a lot of you individually first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep.
not as the whole crew, but man, I hear about the crew when I meet each of you individually. You know what I mean? Like, I got to spend a bunch of time with Bryce, because we did like China together. He was in LA for a good stint. Man, I would not shut up about you, and I've always just loved that. Like, it was always in good intention and letting me know about you guys. So like, I remember like finally meeting Riot. We brought you out for a Whack Crackle Lock.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yes,
was
sir.
that was such fun times, man. It was crazy to me because you really give me the same energy that like Omar gives me. In the same way that you guys don't want to talk about yourselves, but then you do, and it's great.
Yeah. Well, it's yeah. Thank you, man. I mean, like I told you, when I wrote into the last, I'm not sure if it was the last one or the one before that. When you brought me out to that event, man. I mean, the thing about me, and I think this goes for all of the Hood Lockers, that we respect all. We all have come from different backgrounds in terms of how we grew up. But the one thing that remains always that we just respect all, we love all, and we just let everything be there and let everything play out as it should, and then whatever happens from there happens. So when you invited me out there, I was going through a difficult time in my life, and I needed that trip. Like I really, really, really needed that trip, and I mean, to be quite honest, half of me was there, half of me was in my life in terms of like where my mind was at. But spiritually, I was so um, my cup was overflowed with gratitude from the community, from you first and foremost, the community. Um, I really enjoyed myself. When I came home, I told them like, "Yo, I don't know how, but we got to get back out there. We got to go out there and just kind of connect with everybody, like on our own accord, because the love that I received from you guys was, I mean, it really meant a lot. It did. It really did.
Appreciate that, man. It was so great hanging out with you. Ricky, do you remember when we first met?
It had to have been a step your game up because that's when I saw the freaking Hatterang. Like I know that. That's what I swear that I can't. It lives rent free.
Oh, that's when
Oh,
it was us in the you me scramble in the finals for Steppy Game Up, I believe.
yeah.
That's where a
That
lot
was,
of us met Locktan for the first time.
Hmm.
What,
oh wow.
2012?
Something around there.
Man,
Yeah, I think
It
so.
probably had to be
2013?
I
probably
feel like
2000. Yeah, 2012.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always met you guys like individually. I remember seeing a bunch of you guys come through for Hip Hop Dance Fest here in San Francisco, and we
Oh
got
yeah,
to
yeah.
like get down. Yeah.
What
And
year was that?
phew, maybe like
Okay, right.
2017, 2018, something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. That's okay. Okay, that's when we came out with We came out with box one. That was that when Hilty and Bosch were there.
I believe so. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And I think it
That,
was
yeah,
always it's always great seeing you guys because e- when I think about if I were to invite other crews to be on this podcast, I can't name that many.
mm,
You know what I mean? Like I always like to say how much like family, crew, brotherhood, whatever you want to call it, is so key to feeling invested into this dance, this art form because you do it with your family.
right.
And you guys having such a long history of yourselves because like Groove Mechanics has that too. So I've always seen you guys as like the other core crew in America. I literally
Uh,
can't name other ones outside of us that isn't like maybe growing in like the last year or so. You know, so
right. Yeah.
you guys really represent what I think it means to be a crew.
Thank you, man.
You
Appreciate it.
know,
Thank you.
for real.
We try
Because
to be brothers. You know, we try to. I mean, we. You know, it's crazy when they talk about 6 degrees of separation because when Ricky was talking about, you know, how he came to be a part of what we were doing. You know, he was hanging around my cousin, and I didn't know it. Now my cousin Marshall, I was at his house the day he came home from the hospital. Like I the only reason why I had a fear of scary movies was because of my aunt, his mother, right? So I used to spend uh uh like so much time over at his house. I spent more time at his house at that time. Well, no, I didn't. Can't say that. But yeah, I've known him since he was a baby, literally since he was like an infant. So you know, for him and Marshall to connect, and then for us to all connect together, it, some, things like that don't happen, you know, all the time. And then because of that connection, it was easier to learn each other. It was easier to because we understood each other. Well, we all basically came off of the same road, which is Route 130. That Route 130 splits. It goes, you know, north and south. And you know, Bryson then was up north, and we was down south. Pause. So you know, it's crazy how just how you know when you talk about crews and how we like how we are. We're more than a crew. We truly are a family. We're brothers. Like that's how we operate. Literally like brothers.
dude, you can
Off,
personally can
off the
always
tip, off
feel
the
it.
tip.
Always feel it. Glitch, I had a this might be an interesting question for you. How do I phrase this? As a so like in my crews before, like with DSP and even Groove Mechanics, I am 100% the shortest in the crew, and I myself
Ain't
have
nothing
had
taken on this side,
a
bro.
ain't no problem, ain't no problem. But
Ain't nothing taken
there
over
are
here.
some things like if I'm trying to watch you and I try to imitate you, I'm gonna have problems. And that's just something that's been real to me. Like I've been trying to watch. I remember being in class and we were just drilling paces at the time, but you know, keeping time. And I'm watching Dennis Infante and Shy Guy and Seach, and I'm trying to copy their timing. And I'm like, why can't I do it? And I'm like, oh shit, it's because when my hand finishes, they're not done yet.
Whoa, 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 whoa,
So,
whoa.
so my timing had to adjust, you know, because they could take their time to like fully extend. Like same with like Riot, right? You can like take your time to like be at the chest and then bring it out. You could take all the time in the world with that. Looks fly every second. I couldn't do that in the same design because of my body. But my question for you, Ricky, was like, is there anything that you could share for any any roadblocks being on that end as a dancer? Because I myself have had struggles, and that's why you were one of the people I always like to watch because I'm like same body type. Let's like fucking I can learn from this guy, and I do.
I appreciate that. I think I know for sure the one thing that is that timing that you speak of. I had to learn to stop in within my dance and really control that timing. Um, and I mean, I guess from a like logical, it takes shorter time to get from point A to point B. It could like that could be something, but for me, I had to be just more conscious of that. I feel like a lot of times when we would perform, me being the shortest one out of the crew, I had to make myself that much more expansive to match that energy. So I couldn't really, um, I couldn't settle for the training and be conscious of like and really understanding that Riot really technician when it comes to those things. So even with me struggling with that, it was him who kind of like taught me, the patience and understanding pathways and really how to like break things down. So even now when I teach, I'm able to do that because of how he was able to break down the technique. Um, I feel like I now have the space to breathe within my dance and not feel like I'm confined to a size. It's really more mental than it is physical.
Yeah, I feel that. The patience, like you said, is really a big one. Because I know for myself, being on like the shorter end, I think there was always a piece of me that wanted to be bigger than I was. So that meant running faster or trying to be explosive, but that meant I didn't have the patience to just breathe and be with it and be confident. Like, you know what? This is what I got. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really helpful. I hope it's helpful for people to hear because, I mean, this is a topic for
I
just
mean,
you and me, but
but when you're in for something like that, it doesn't even matter what size you are. Like when we're talking about patience within music and dance, it's about you knowing yourself. It's about you knowing your body, right? So we've grown up in a community of dancers, you know, that in a cipher we can all be, speaking the same language in our own way, and everybody understands it because how well we know ourselves. And so that's just it's a learning process. I was very enthusiastic about locking when I first started, even like watching footage outside of outside of the lockers and my in the hood lockers like my bros. I think the next thing was like watching P Lock. I'm not gonna lie, like seeing his clarity in the lines. I was like, it's that. You know, Drew and Mark definitely helped me understand that just through like the way that the training program was with like trying to learn everything. But seeing that, and then like when we got a chance to meet Pivac in France, and I realized like yo, this guy's like same freaking height. I'm like, how can you not look at your dance and be like, yo, I can totally be that that how can I say it like detailed? I'd say right? And be that large and out here. Like it was just so it just made sense going forward. I was like, I gotta train to be that way.
that's dope. Thanks for sharing, man.
Yeah.
I believe we wanted to get into another topic.
All
I'll hand it
right.
off. I'll hand it to Kai Star for this.
Yeah, because I mean, like when you think about it, so we were talking about, you guys were talking about the rerun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes we know one, like the one way of doing something as one name or another. And as a lot of people know, we have been talking about reclaiming the name the Campbell Lock, which was the original name for the dance that we do. So shifting over from locking whenever possible, and on a personal level, like I don't want to be the person to say, "Hey, you got to do this," but at the same time, in honor of Don, and to be able to recognize that, hey, like this is the original name, this is the way that that we at least want to continue moving forward. Um, when Brian and I had a conversation uh, about it immediately after you know Allen Hurricane, posting on his Instagram story. Um, Mark and Riot were in the chat,
Mhm.
pitching in a lot of good information. So I guess like I just kind of want to hand it off to you guys and see where you guys are at with it, because it seems like you have some really well thought out takes. You have some feelings, but I think I also want to like just kind of extend that to you as well, Ricky Glitch, just because we weren't able to hear what you had to say about it.
Right.
And then also, I saw Mark join in on the Instagram, so I don't know if you still want to pop in, dude. Like, if you'd like to step in, please get in contact with us via one of the chats. But why don't I start with Glitch, dude? Just because, yeah, would love to hear what
Yeah,
you.
yeah, sure.
You wanna go by hype this time? Okay, good.
Oh my God.
Oh man,
So I know for sure that when I teach class, the goal is, first and foremost to pass along information as it's presented to you because you're trying to do everybody due diligence and the respect. Like it's not our dance. We are doing it. We are participating in. We're continuing on the legacy. You know, street dances for as long as we know it have always had you know mixed histories and then just tend to you know out and the
gonna
generations that come from under that, we're always trying to make sense of that.
gonna pause you really quick because you cut out a little bit. Do you mind going back over that really quick?
Um, damn. All right, so let me go back. So it's about like paying homage and doing your due diligence by passing on like information as it's presented to you. And these street dances, like they tend to as they're passed down, like no one's like keeping track of these things, and so as the next it's their interpretation. Then usually you end up doing some backpedaling, like pun intended. Same thing with the backslide and the moonwalk, right? It's that kind of thing. So as information goes out, it's like okay, like who's what's the validation, what's the source. So I feel like the best thing for me personally I can do is simply you know as I've learned it and point people in the right direction to really give them a chance to learn that on their own. And while we still have pioneers that tell their story, it's important that everyone takes advantage of that opportunity to be able to do that, right? And do your research. And the post that Hurricane made, it definitely shed some light to a lot of people who clearly didn't know like the history of the Campbell Lock and why that name was dropped. But that's also something that when we teach that part. Like even though as the classes are called locking and prior to this thing we were calling it locking, but when you're trying to break down these moves, and and then the names of the other moves is like, well, someone's going to ask the question, well, and you have to say, okay, this is how that person, created that move. So when we talk about Don, we talk about Locke, and we always start with Don. We always start with that. We always start with him, being the creator of this move and calling it the Camel Lock. History and explain where all these other moves came from, like the Ski Rabbit, the Scooby Doo, the Quickie, so on and so forth, as the information is presented to us. It's not like we have a Bible for it either. It's us taking the opportunity to reach out to these pioneers and learn, the true history. So everyone has their perspective, and so I think it's important for people to know that history as far as it being, originally the Campbell. I also think that they're in the timeline, were people calling it locking. There were people that were, inspired by Don and did moves. And as this knowledge became passed along, you know, surprised just of Don's moves anymore, right? As inspired as it was by Don, like at its base, but if you just even learning the dance and the funk styles around it, like there are other people that don't get the same light as Don because we were all focused on Campbell Lock and makes sense. But that's not the start of the timeline. Start of the timeline for the dance, right? And there's everything else around it. And I think people when they're introduced to it as locking, our perspective, it makes sense, right? And when so you have to really be specific about how the information is being disseminated, and if we're going to go forward with calling it Campbell locking, we have to really do the due diligence of giving everybody that contributed to this dance, um, and if there are pioneers that feel like you know um, this is in a way like denouncing who they are and what their contributions are, then we all need to actually talk about that because they have played a role in the development of this dance. And so it's great to move forward. I think we could really do the community and the up and coming community a good service by getting everything on the same page, getting everyone on the same page and understanding what it is that everybody's trying to do. Yeah.
Just like
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, um, what's up, Epic? Um,
You hear me?
yeah, I hear you now.
What's up, everybody? What's good, everybody? Lil B,
What up, what up?
We got Epic. Oh, there he is. There he
Yeah.
is.
Everybody can see me cool? What up, me? I might
Yeah,
need to zoom a little bit. You know what I mean? Am I clear now? What's
yeah,
up,
you good?
everyone?
Man, he has a better streaming setup than we do.
Everybody got like the brights and what I mean, I'm all, dark, whatever. What's up, everybody? This
What up,
is
what
dope.
up?
I appreciate everybody. This is amazing. Thank you for letting me be a part. I know, my schedule was all jacked up, but I was able to figure something out. So thanks.
Man, we're very very happy to have you. Just a little anecdote. We actually have Don's wife in the Twitch mentioning, this is Don's wife wanting to send my love and appreciation for all this love. Always love the Hoodlockers and how they represented Don.
Oh
Much
wow.
love and a ton of hearts. So,
Thanks, mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Thank you.
No.
so yeah, I guess man, we have both of you guys, and you guys got to hear about how we were interpreting that information the other day, and I guess I'd hand it off to you guys to see where your opinions. Like, do you guys have anything for the people that disagree with it,
Um, hmm.
or if you're a person that disagrees with it, extrapolate. Because I would love to hear what y'all have to say too.
You want to go first, Mark? You want me to play cleanup?
Oh
Because
man.
me and him kind of have the same view. I think he explains it a little better, and I like to come up and just clean up and add into I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah, go ahead.
I mean, it depends on, it depends on what day it is. Sometimes I'm clean up, sometimes him. But first and foremost, rest in peace, Don Campbell. Thank you for everything. We love you. Everything we do is dedicated to the inspiration that you enhance. Like I said, we knew Rerun, but once we saw that footage and we saw Don Campbell, we saw the way he was moving, it was like, oh my goodness, like this is we see it way more now. We understand what this is really all about. And I feel like you can never, if anyone who's gotten into locking, because that's probably how they were introduced first, maybe seeing the lockers or performances of the lockers, if at that time they stopped and watched every single member of that group, especially Don, and gave them all their individual time, they would understand why Campbell locking, it is the base concept and feeling of everything that is happening on that stage. But you would have to really pay attention to everybody to see that. Some people watch shows and they watch the whole show and they're like, yeah, I saw the locker footage, but they didn't really watch the locker footage. You know what I'm saying? We watched that footage 100 times a day, and we watched each person 10 times before we moved on to the next person. So, with that being said, it was clear to us even then, even when we weren't fully clear of, even when we weren't clear that it was called Campbell locking, we knew that there was a difference in the way that Don went about the dance and everybody else. Even though, even though they were all pulling from the same uh concept of dance. They were all pulling from the same concept, but the way Don's approach to that dance was specific. Yeah, he did the routines, but from our perspective, his approach was completely different in every show. And we recognized that and we appreciated Don for that. Now all their approach was different, but you got to understand, Don Campbell's explosive nature in every moment that he attacked was just a little different. And we didn't know. We just said, okay, Don Campbell and the lockers, when they move a certain type of way, you know? Even realizing that Mr. Penguin was rerun. And it's like, wow, that's where we see the inspiration that rerun, pulls from as well. It's all connecting. So we identified with that. Now, mind you, at the time, this is like the early 2000s, you know? So there's other things happening in the world other than the original footage, right? We're seeing battles in France and in Europe. We're seeing all this stuff. We're seeing locking at breaking events in the 90s, you know what I'm saying? At the time, we didn't know what it was, but someone, Sugar Pop would be in the video, or, somebody would be in that video doing locking, even though it was a breaking jam. Gemini, you would see Gemini, he would, you would see all these different people, Flowmaster, and it's like, you can clearly see that, like, from the footage, the people you saw in those breaking footages, and then the difference from that to the original footage, but then what was happening in the rest of the world. So we didn't understand that something was different. We didn't know why, what, and how, but something was just different. And everyone kind of gravitates to what they like. Like Ricky was explaining, like, when he saw P-Lock, he gravitated to, how clean and the lines and the approach. Everyone gravitates to what they like about this style. At that time when we really got into it, we gravitated to how Dom was locking. We gravitated how it was bleeding off into the rest of the members in the on the Lockers team, the Campbell Lock dancers that became, I guess, the Lockers after the legal stuff. I try to stay away from that because we weren't there. So, information gets brought to us, but we don't like sitting around talking about events that we were not a part of. Okay? So I'm just going to leave that right there. But what I can tell you is that we saw when what was happening on Soul Train, when everyone's doing the dance, everyone's copying, or it's when it's happening. We said we want to lock like that. That's cool, like that's dynamic and that's cool and it's clean and it's dope, but we want to lock like that. It reminds us of our family. It reminds us of our history. It reminded us of our culture and the struggle and like the unapologetic like expression of positivity and excitement, and we're giving it away. They were giving it away. That approach to dance is completely different than the performance aspect or the showcase aspect. And we just identified that as hood. That's hood. That's that hood shit. Excuse me. That's that hood stuff. Mind you.
Nine. Go ahead.
Go ahead. That's
Nah, go
that
ahead.
hood.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's that hood shit.
That's that hood stuff. We want to identify with that because somewhere in our life we understand it. So that's why we called ourselves Hoodlockers, right? At the time, no one said, this dance style is called Campbell locking. We didn't know that per se. We knew about Don Campbell. The history was being told to us. No one ever introduced locking to us and didn't tell us where it came from. I don't think I've ever met any locker with a name that was teaching a workshop or throwing an event that ever started with doing what they do and didn't give Don Campbell his respect. I've just never seen that. Okay. But then they would go on and go from their experience and teach their thing or whatever. But I've never seen people just be like, Don ain't had nothing to do with this. I've never seen that. So I'm kind of going off a little bit, but the fact of the matter is we didn't know it was called a Campbell locking. So we just called ourselves Hoodlockers because we want to show the difference in our approach to locking than what we saw the rest of the world doing. Okay. As we started diving deeper and getting more information and understanding, Campbell locking was a movement. It was Don's whole, like, what Don brought to the table was so contagious to everybody. Then we're like, we're Campbell locking. That's what we said. Everyone asked us, yo, so what are you doing? We said, yo, we ain't locking, we Campbell locking. But that didn't mean that we didn't recognize that there was some sort of disconnect. Now, like I said, we're the type of people that we don't like talking about stuff we don't know about, but we see it. We don't even make a big deal about it. We just like Drew said earlier, Riot said earlier, we kind of patiently let things happen because we know they're going to happen. We know things are going to come up, and then we want to be present to witness it when it does happen. So we didn't make a big deal about the fact that we knew there was a difference between the way these people are locking. We just made our choice. And we identified with the idea that this natural movement that was so contagious was Campbell locking. The movement. That moment when you can take just 4 or 5 moves and dance a whole song with it, when you're just dancing it, not doing it, we could clearly see that there's a difference there, so this is years of this. We when we were together, because a lot, like a lot of our journey is spread out. Some of us working in Europe, some of us here. We get together, we do some stuff, and then we somewhere else. But one thing that never changed was our our love for it, our approach, our integrity, and where it's coming from and where it was inspired from. And I think that allowed us, with all the gaps we saw, that allowed us to be open sponges to everybody. Everybody was teaching us. We had and I'm not saying no names. I'm not going to do that. Not because I'm avoiding, I don't know, what people might think, why don't you just say the names? Because they're not here to defend themselves. They're not here to say how they felt at that moment, or with the context of what they were saying. All this stuff matters to us without us even saying it. Context matters. You can tell someone one thing and they can hear the words you say and be like, yo, so and so said this. But what did they mean? Like, and people skip past that. They're just like, well, I heard this. So and so told me that this one did that. Well, you weren't there and you don't know what the context of this was to that. And we stay away from that. We've always done it. And that's why no matter who, I mean, we might, I don't know if we have any enemies, guys, but wherever we go, we're cool. We're cool with everybody. You could be from France, you could be from England, you could be from Japan, you could be from China. We cool with everybody. America, East Coast, West Coast, Toronto, it don't matter. We cool. But there's a reason, because we respect everybody's story. Everybody's story and everybody's experience is going to enhance our story. It's going to enhance our experience. It's going to make us better. It's going to fuel and feed our desire to get closer to this movement that Don created that spread all over the world. So we sit back and we watch people argue. Sorry, everybody that's listening. We're all victims. We argue with each other. We argue with each other. The Hoodlockers, we sit and we argue and we shake hands afterwards. But we're not arguing with the world. We're not going to do that. Like, we can't go and first of all, I want to give I'm gonna give props to a lot of people, but I'm gonna give mad props to Alan. Okay. Now, Alan has a perspective and a direction. Okay. Hurricane. And it takes a lot of courage to stand in a position like that and put that out there. Okay. Now, if you ask me, do I support Alan? I support Alan because of his his heart and his courage. Do I 100% have the same stance about it? Maybe not. Maybe there's a couple of differences there. Not all of them, not a lot, but a couple. But that's because of my experience. It's different from his experience. You see? So I can support him to a certain layer, but then another layer will come up where I got to support over here too. Everybody, and this is my opinion. Now I'm throwing opinions out there. Sorry, I get to going. I love everybody. Thank y'all for having me. You know what I mean? What's up,
I told you,
everybody?
bro.
Yeah. Um, you know,
Here's
we
my schedule.
we all, and you can hear it from the stories. You can hear it from if when you hear, especially Americans, this is not people from other countries telling their stories. This is Americans telling you that we are just as much as a guest to this dance style as you are, because we were introduced to it on TV through our families watching Soul Train. We weren't on Soul Train. We're too young. We are guests too. What gets us that in is our American DNA with our American families who lived this same American struggle. It's the only thing that is different about us. And then we can pull from that our families, our culture, rural life, and see the similarities in the stuff that we're seeing on TV. So maybe that's an advantage, but at the end of the day, we're still guests. We still had to learn the history just like you did. We had to learn the technique just like you did. You see what I'm saying? Nobody's better than nobody, but everybody needs to realize y'all weren't there. And even if you learn from one of the OGs or two of the OGs or three of the OGs, you still weren't there. You might have been around these people. You might have heard them because we're human. You might have heard them in human moments in their lives where they were happy and they appreciated everything. And you might have been around there when they was pissed off at everybody and didn't have something nice to say about the next person. But you weren't there. And if you really want to get close, you're never going to get the truth. You're never going to get the truth. 'Cause you weren't there. But if you really want to get as close as possible to the truth, you have to hear everything. If you weren't born when they were dancing, if you weren't able to go to the jams or the practices or the moments when stuff, you can't truly have an opinion. You can't. You can pick what you like. You can pick what you want to, I don't know, navigate closer to, but you weren't there. So you can't shun this OG and what they got to say because this OG told you one thing. You can't do that. You can if you want to. But how fair is that really? Yes. If you ask me, because of where this has gone and where it started, yeah, we should all be able to come together and go, but you know what? In honor of Don's legacy, let's call this Campbell Lock. We should be able to do that, but we can't because there are people out there that don't feel that that's okay. And those people are around the same age as Don. I was raised to believe, and in my family and my culture, you respect your elders. I don't care if you first though, you don't have to know your elder. If I'm walking down the street and the elders go, "Young man, you better," I'm like, "Yes, sir." And I don't know if that's good. I think that's good. Some people might think that's good raising, if you ask me. You respect unless they do something to you. If they do something to hurt you and they do something to hurt your family, then you can go, "Yo, I don't like that person. I'm not listening to that person." But if this person is just an elder and they're telling you what they think respectfully, listen. You don't have to agree. You don't have to agree. You don't have to say another word. Listen, because whatever that information is going to fuel your map of whatever the history of it all is. You know, one of the things, and I'm gonna turn this over to Riot because I'll keep going. I think I made the point about support and understanding and respecting. I think is what's missing in this whole thing. The reason why we can't come together, the reason why we can't have a community a panel discussion with every single person on it is because there's no respect. Everybody wants to fight, argue, and pick sides. Like it's called the middle. And if the middle isn't us all calling it Campbell-Akin, well then let's all talk about what the middle could possibly be. And let's ask ourselves, is that the middle? You see what I'm saying? That should ultimately be the goal. So that because it ain't about us anymore. It ain't about us. We had our time. The OGs is out here. Lucky for us, they're still teaching. They're still telling their stories. You see? And it's the generation after us. This is not for us. This conversation is not for us because we kept doing what we was doing anyway when we didn't have the information, right? We just happen to have enough respect to put us on a level that we're on. But this ain't for us. This is for all the confused dancers out there that's hearing a story over here, hearing a story over here, hearing this person talk bad about this one, hearing this one talk bad about this one. You're confusing them. We want to see more competitions, don't we? We want these competitions to continue to go. We want showcases. We want to see more Campbell Lock-In, aka Lock-In, show up in movies and music videos. And we don't want it to die out. We don't want it to be the last event that's the last style that's considered. Breaking is on everything. Hip hop, popping and house, and then where are we in the back? We already in the back and we fighting and we not listening to our elders. Like, are we crazy or what? Like, we need to take a step back and realize that everybody is telling all them OGs. I haven't heard one OG say so and so is lying on me. I haven't heard that. Maybe someone else has. I haven't heard that. I keep hearing this post about this and that post about that, this interview about this and this interview about that. This group people follow, this group people, this blah, blah, blah. But why aren't they angry and fighting each other? Because they're just different perspectives and stories. Y'all, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, the reason, and I'm sorry, I said I was moving forward. I wanted to hold back for this reason alone. I just feel that as a whole, if we want to see Don's legacy and everybody who contributed to the movement that he did live on and be respected and be understood, we all have to come together. I know this shit sounds impossible, like just kumbaya, world peace shit, but we can at least have lock and peace. Like, we can at least have that. Okay, we might not be able to have world peace, but can we at least have that? Everybody has a different perspective. Every OG has a different personality. So somebody might come across mad arrogant and strong about their position. That doesn't mean they're wrong. Somebody else might come across mad loving and like open doors. That doesn't mean that they're better than that person. That's just another story of the big story. It started with Don. We should all respect that. Every class and documentary I've seen from people that don't even dance like Don or come from the same Campbell Lock and energy, they always say Don Campbell Lock Campbell was the creator. And then they go on and teach whatever they want to teach. The only problem we're gonna have if somebody says, "Yo, Don didn't create the lock," then we have a problem. That's when we have a problem. But I haven't heard that yet. I'm hearing about all these social dances. I'm hearing about all these movements that inspired the moves that you learn. We can't, we have, if you, it's like history. America, we already messed up. American history is jacked, right? And a lot of shit that happens. I mean, I love America, God bless America. But, I'm a proud American. But it's fucked up over here. You know what I'm saying? But the truth of the matter is, you gotta really dig deep. Muggs is only finding out the truth right now because of the internet, right? All the stuff is coming out. The whole time we was living off the shit that they was putting in the books in high school, in middle school. But now we're learning the truth. Dude, that's what's happening with this style. And the only way you're going to get to the truth is if you're willing to truly take information from everyone that was around in that time. And we are lucky to still have people here that was around in that time. You can't tell an OG of that time that his experience is wrong. You can't. You cannot. It's just a different perspective on what was happening then. But that's more history for you. If you want to type that history down and put that person's name over top of it in the little notebook, do so. But don't diss them. Don't disrespect them. Don't leave them out. Do you respect the OGs? Do you love the OGs? We'll talk to all of them. Invite them all at the same time. The ones that don't show up, okay, they don't want to be there. But at least you tried. At least you tried to get to. And I'm speaking when I say you, I'm talking about the world. At least you tried to get close to the truth. Okay, we can't deny that we all great dancers. We're all dancers. We're all dope, you know. But no one can deny what Dine contributed to this style. You can't deny it. You can't deny that Campbell Locken is the source of this all. So yeah, I mean, if everybody can come together and say, look, let's do this but I'm not overstepping no OG. I am not going to decide, and I respect everyone who takes a stance, but at the same time, I'm personally not going to say, well, I'm just going to do this because you can't do that. You have to, if you're going to make a choice, you got to make sure that the choice that you're making includes every bit of possible information because you're selling yourself short when you do that. You're selling yourself short of the opportunity to get the closest to the truth. I want to do it too. Trust me. I want to do that. But it's not, I wasn't raised that way. I wasn't raised to overstep some older man's or woman's story. I want to though, but that's who am I? I'm just some other person that loves Don and Don's movement like the other people who love Don's movement. But I can't do nothing, man. I can't change the title. The world uses the title. That's like telling and I don't again, no, I'm not gonna do it. I was gonna go into another dance style, but let's keep it here.
It always goes into that realm of like, you know what everyone's talking about? Nah, I shouldn't.
You know, I'm not gonna say it, but it's in every of the main 5 styles we talk about here. It's in all these styles. None of them are able to do what we're trying to do here. You see what I'm saying? So, I'm gonna stop because I will never stop. Riot,
Let me
help me, bro.
let me jump in really quick before Riot gets started. I just want to say, dude, you put so much of the
Sorry.
things that Kai Star and I have been talking about on the podcast and privately very eloquently. Very, very eloquently. Because there's a lot of things to unpack there. And like some of the things I want to name is even like the respect for elders. Because a lot of us, like for myself too, I grew up with that. So it is always listen to your elders. And then what happens when elder stories start to like crash, intersect, and they go against each other. And like you said, like, what can I do? Right? How can I make a change like that? And that's where I got stuck before, and that's why like you said too, I really give it up to Hurricane for stepping up to the plate and doing what he was doing, because now it becomes a we, thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, and something else that you said I really want people to like really hear and notice is that it is about your story. It is about your sources because that's what's going to carry this forward, right? We know a starting point for this dance. We know the man who is the starting point. And everything after that, ourselves included, are contributors and torchbearers of this art form, this lifestyle, this culture. So I know that even in like the Philippines and in Korea, there's a lot of people that say like, it feels so heavy for me, and it's like, well, now it's we.
Mm.
It shouldn't feel so heavy of a burden for one person anymore because what this has jump started is that we can show in our generation that we can be together. Like I never had fucking beef with you guys. You know what I mean?
Never.
Like,
Yeah, never.
and it would never be that way because
Right.
just like you say, you respect everybody. The same way on our end, man. And especially, it's also very easy to respect the love that you can see, the unity that you can see in the brotherhood, which is why 100% always give it up to Hoodlockers. Like whatever you guys want to do, I support you just the way I support Alan and Omar and for Kaistar, because that is what is to me the real drive and fuel for these important conversations. And like you said, I don't think a lot of people are trying to come together the way that we are to be able to talk about it, right? Because it's not like we just have like completely opposing views. We just all have views and they all support in different ways,
Right.
right? Because
Everybody's
one,
looking at the same wall, but from a different spot.
yeah.
That's it.
That's
That
Ying,
part.
basically what it is.
thank you,
I
thank you
don't
for
mean to cut
sharing,
you
man.
off.
Go for it, right?
Ah, you're welcome, bro. Thank
No,
you.
yeah, that's why I wanted Epic to talk because we had to talk. We always have these talks. I mean, we're always in constant dialogue with one another, um, trying to sharpen our knowledge, but also trying to prepare ourselves to be able to explain our position in a very clear and concise way. And Epic is really good at that, especially compartmentalizing each um, issue and then delivering it in a good way. So that was great. So I don't really have much to clean up, but I just 100% agree with Epic. I mean, you know, Don is the source. Don created this dance. Everybody knows that. Like Epic said, I've never heard an OG refute that. Nor have I ever heard anybody say, you know what, this was out before Don. I never heard any of that. Now, you know, again, Don inspired everybody, right? So, I mean, from my perspective, it's really not about whether we call it Campbell lock in or whether we call it lock in. I think at this point, like Epic said, it's about we are the not us, but the ones after us and then the ones after us. They're the future. They're going to take this dance on, hopefully. And now is the great time, is a great launching point for us to all get our ducks in a row. I don't see why it's a problem for anybody that has opposing views to get together and talk about it. Because if you really love to dance like you say you do, well then put your money where your mouth is.
Exactly.
That's what we say over. That's I know. Yeah, y'all know. That's what we say over here in the U.S. So it's like there's no reason to be. There's no reason. I understand that the competition stuff it kind of clouds everybody's judgment, kind of clouds, where how everybody sees things, but this is not, this is really just about getting on one accord so that you don't have, you know, young brothers, taking their last bit of money, hopping on planes to go to, to go to competitions or to go share the dance to be told that they're not, they're not, they're not doing it, especially after they just got finished talking to Fluky Luke. Like these are things that I've experienced in my journey, and it only made me wiser. Like I
Mm.
was messed up, but it made me wiser because number one, I'm the type of person where like they call me the technician in the group.
Mm. Yeah.
I keep everything very very like if I can't go up no more, I either got left or right. Which direction is the best? Okay, I'm going left. Like, I'm very logical in the way that I think when it comes down to movement and how I break it down and how I see things. So I knew that I knew that at a certain point in my journey that there was a lot more to learn. And I knew that I had learned about as much as I could on my own, and it was time for me to start to talk to other OGs, other pioneers. I never closed the door. I never went into a place and was like, I'm the end all be all. I know everything. I know. I'm one of the things that I live by when it comes down to dance or anything is that I always remain a student, and I got that from Wiggles. Wiggles used to always say that, and
Mm-hmm.
that's like I live by that. So I never feel like I'm ever a finished product in terms of my knowledge and what it is that I know. And I never say that I teach anybody. I always like to say that I share with them. I share my information with them, and then whatever they decide to do with it, that's up to them. That's for their journey. But I feel like at this point, I know I'm probably going off a little bit, but I just want to say, you know, there's got to there's got to be a way where we can all coexist. We can all be recognize the OGs, recognize Don, recognize all the OGs for their contributions. Recognize all the pioneers and the up and coming pioneers. I'm sure there's somebody out there that all they watched their whole entire life was Flowmaster.
Mm-hmm.
Flowmaster dances. He's like, what I mean, his dance is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
There's somebody out there that's watching him, and they're going to study, and they may even look like Flowmaster to a T.
Mm-hmm.
And they got the whole world saying, "Yo, Flowmaster, got it, got it, got it." And then here comes this little kid looking like Flowmaster, and he goes to this competition, and then because of somebody's attitude or how they feeling at that time, oh, that's not it. You see what I'm saying? Like we get into these realms where, like Mark said, where it's really about perspective. It's really about, it's not really about what's right or what's wrong. It's about putting everything into the pot,
Mm-hmm.
being fully aware of everything that can contribute. Because we're here right now. This is where we're at right now. Whatever the date is, wherever my feet are right now, that's where I'm at. So I can't really truly be focused about the past. I can honor honor I can honor my past by organizing it properly in my present so that my future is clear. And I think that's where our job is right now. That's what we have to do. And everybody that claims to love locking or Campbell locking or whatever Campbell locking, right? Anybody that claims to love it should be coming together and having conversation and talking about it for the love of the dance, for the love of Don. You know what I'm saying? Uh, yeah, that's how I feel. Straight up.
I just want to say that as a personal goal for me as one half of this with Brian is this is what I like, this is what I live for. This is why I wanted to do this so much, is because we don't always have to agree on everything, right? Like you can still be brothers, you can still be sisters, you can still be family, and you can disagree. And
That's it.
we can talk about things and we can problem solve. And even like personally, I don't always agree with everything that's out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
I can listen and I can be respectful and I can be present. And I love that you guys are so eloquently like putting all this out there. And again, like it doesn't have to be one thought. We all like you look at all the original lockers, they all dance the same. They all have their own personalities and we can still do that.
Right.
Um so I really want to say thank you um for the input on that. I guess I'll just kind of segue to another question that we had in particular with like if Riot is technically the technician, um like what other kind of like main practitioners y'all got out there, or would Epic be the would Epic be the technician, or like who's who?
Yeah, is
We'll
there
let
like
Riot break that down.
is there like a
Let's keep
character guy?
yeah, like let's keep it fun.
You know how they say, how growing up watching the Ninja Turtles, everybody thought Leonardo was the leader, but in reality it was Raphael.
Mm. Mm.
I'm kind of like Leonardo, but he's like Raphael. And there's days where we switch.
Mm.
Sometimes he's Magneto, sometimes I'm Professor X. Sometimes you see it like it's always like fire and ice. Me and him have always gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like a yin and yang thing that we have, and we always just kind of that's just how we've always been. But I would say for him, he's more or less like he's like the I would call him the leader in terms of like understanding the climate, being able to take a lot of things into consideration at one time, um, and be able to be able to speak and verbalize it. Right, I'm like the technician, but I'm like the more emotional one out of all of us. Like not in terms, not we're all emotional, but I have no problem telling you how I feel. We all of us have no problem, but I'm gonna let you know straight up and down. I don't care who you are. I really don't care. And it's not a disrespect thing. It's a thing that my mom used to always teach me. Closed mouths don't get fed. So that's kind of like my mentality. Uh, Peasy is the soul,
Mm,
and when it comes down to actual like this like dancing, just being like
mm.
Peasy is the soul, and Ricky is short. It's like no, nah. Ricky is our organizer.
Listen,
He's like
man.
a
I
no.
identify
He's a
with both of
This,
those
this,
things.
this,
Oh
this
Jesus
is an everyday
Christ!
thing.
my
Oh,
bad, Rick. But yeah, he's like our organizer. He kind of like um he keeps like everything kind of like organized. If we miss something, he's always checking on our emails, checking on our Instagram. Um,
Yeah.
if we need anything written up or anything, he's the guy that writes stuff up. Or we could all write, but he's he's a lot better at it
But
than we.
I tell you what though, like personality wise though, honestly, Ricky is our piece. Ricky is
Yeah,
if
that's true.
what I'm telling you right now, without Ricky, we would have so many disasters would have gone outside of our control, you know.
True.
Even it's would start with us, but then how we move has a lot to do with Ricky's piece. Like Ricky listens and he keeps quiet. But when he says something, it's like because he paid attention to every single thing. And when he delivers back to you what you ask him or what you ask of him or ask of him to do or a role you ask him to play, whatever, it's like exactly where you put it. He gives it right to it, a peaceful, stable scenario. You know, we we go crazy. The rest of us go crazy. Him and Peasy. Peasy's piece too, but Peasy's like I don't know who to describe it to, but he's that type of person. Is quiet, kind, and gentle. But if he gets pissed off, he's Hawk. You just don't know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Peasy is like Hawk, and you see that in his dance. Like he said, he's the soul. So Peasy really is grooving for himself. But if there's one moment where he thinks you're battling him, he goes,
Oh shit! It glitched at the same time, bro. Oh shit!
and then he
And
snaps.
then it's over.
It's a wrap. Best to leave him alone, you know?
I
But
like that you
anyway,
used the Ninja Turtles reference because you guys are on here. I was thinking about also like my history with Bryce
right.
because when me and him were in China with Omar and J Boogie, J Boogie was the Raphael. J Boogie was the one who's like, I got shit to start, and we're like, all right, we're just here to support whatever is fueling that, because you got Bryce as the Michelangelo just high as shit on
Right.
pizza over here, and it's like, okay, we gotta go, let's go.
That's funny. That's Bryce. That is Bryce. You know, one thing. Just speaking on Bryce. You know, Bryce. Oh man, like it's so much we can say about Professor Locke because he's like he's tall as I don't know what, but he's like our little brother. You know, we always like nudging at Bryce, but Bryce is. Hmm. how can I say this? We all have our own like drive, and we, but he is very like with love. He is so driven, and he doesn't let anything hold him back. And I'm not gonna say that like we or anyone else that he's around would hold him back, but he's there with love. He's capitalizing on how he can contribute when he can, but his drive is like on 100. Like you can't. He's not waiting for anybody. He's hanging out for a while, but he ain't waiting either. He like waiting, but he already got a contingency plan. So
I actually want to share something that I learned from Bryce. It was in Long Beach when he was doing his I don't maybe it was just like a random stint in Cali, but he was talking to a lot of us at Homeland, and he was just saying like being like a locker is like being like a gypsy, because you see another one and you're like, that's you, I get you, that's my family right there. And I was like, wow, that is so correct.
yeah.
Because you see it in like other dance styles like pop, you're like, yeah, there's other poppers here, but you see another locker, you're like, oh, you get it, you live it.
Yeah.
And and I want to kind of bring it back to something that Ricky said like way earlier in the conversation when he was introducing himself. Like in high school, like you're saying that you didn't really you weren't like the most social butterfly of your group. Like I think a lot of lockers resonate with that because you hear Scooby talk about himself and he's always like, I was a square, and he owns up to it, right? It's like
Yeah.
I think a lot of people um who do our style, irrespective of what you want to call it, we resonate with each other in a way that is not communicative through words. Like you can't communicate that, oh, like this is, I don't know, like there's something extra special about being from our dads that
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that probably, and I don't even want to say it, but
Sad.
that's probably, I don't know. I guess it depends
mhm.
because I've been around some other lockers that were very like standoffish. Not here in America, but here in America, our plight is different, like than everybody else's. You know what I'm saying? So, um, but I do understand what you're saying. Yeah, 100%, 100%. When it comes like to American lockers, I don't know what it is about. Like I said, when I went over there when you guys brought me out, like I felt at home. I don't feel that way when I go other places. It's not because of the places or the people, but I think it's just the mentality. Like for example, like overseas or there's a real competition mentality over there.
Yeah, that's what.
Everybody looks at everybody as like a hurdle or like an enemy or something like. They may not personally feel that way or spiritually feel that way, but how they interact with each other is almost like it's a b-boy mentality,
Mm,
which is actually kind of crazy because that's probably why I understand it because I first was a b-boy.
mhm,
So I definitely understand and get it, and that to a certain degree I can respect it. But at the same time, it's a little different being an African American male going overseas and wanting to dance with people that are not from America, and they giving you the squinty eye, like nigga, I get that shit when I'm home from cops, from people that ain't from my like. What is you doing? You ain't doing no bad. More wood to the fire. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, I'm sorry, but that
No, you're
No,
totally
it's
on point, because that's
it's
one of the things that drives me right now about why like I started this podcast with Kai Star and been trying to travel more and speak more on what that is like. I haven't experienced it myself, right? Like being a black man going overseas and feeling those things and getting that sort of attention. But I've heard so much from Omar what that is like, and I see the way that it affects him, and is like
yeah,
one of my firm beliefs as like someone that loves him is that this culture and this dance need him, right?
yeah,
And so, but I want to make sure that when he comes out, he's treated respectfully,
Right.
that he's understood, and that he's welcomed, and he's not just like seen as the pedestal or the competition or just the
Right.
black guy. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly. Yeah, no,
You're
100%,
right.
man. Like
You're right.
people don't
and
even realize. People don't realize what it's really like being an African American male in this world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at all our music, all anything that has anything that's popular has everything and all things to do with sex, violence, drugs, right? Um, that's how Hollywood likes to portray the majority of our people. Um, so when you grow up in that type of environment your entire life, I know for me, it was important from coming from my family to not be that stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to work hard at everything. I was pushed to work hard at all my my schoolwork. If I went to everything, even when it came down to making my bed, like
Yep.
I had to be overly exceptional because of the the stuff that I would go through as a grown man
Mm-hmm.
that I find myself in right now. Um, so I think I'm kind of lost a little bit, but you know, I don't think people really realize um, for someone like Omar, who, Omar is cool as shit. I mean, he
Right.
is so Omar. It Omar is kind of like us. You see us, and because it's human nature, you're just going to judge us because based off of what you don't know or what you think
Mm-hmm.
you know or some song you heard or somebody that looked like you like me or that's how people judge us. But they have no idea what type of human being Omar is. They don't know
Right.
his likes and interests. They
Right.
don't. Same thing goes for us. Like you know, I got dreads, I got locks. People probably look at me and think as soon as I go back home, I'm hitting the block with me and my 10 baby mamas, or something like that. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like, no, I'm going back home to my apartment to go raise my kids and cook for my kids and make sure that they go to bed on time so they can get up and go to school so that I can go out and go to work and then wake up and go come home and do it again. Like,
mm-hmm.
that's my life,
Yeah.
but people don't know that. And it's often people like to judge people. And again, it's a human thing. So I'm not knocking you for being human, but what I am saying is don't be so quick to judge. And I think it goes back to what Epic was saying about when they're hearing the OGs talk. Like if you hear one OG talk and, you know, regardless if you idolize that OG or whatever the case may be, however you feel about that OG, you listen to their story. That doesn't mean that you shut off your other ear and don't listen to everybody else.
Right.
Like that's not how life. That's just not how. It's not how things are done in the real world. You got to gain as much information as possible. I feel like if anybody tries to shut you off from gaining any more knowledge, they have an agenda.
Right.
Everything is already out in the open. People should just be free to kind of be able to live their lives, and everybody else should be free to learn people and not have preconceived notions or uh, bias or prejudice or whatever, because you may not even know where that actually comes from. For people, for me, I can speak for myself. When I go and I interact with people, I'm old enough to know where it comes from, but I don't allow that to change who I am or how I interact with you. I'm still going to love you. If you see me on the bus, you know, and something happens, I'm the first one. I'm the first one to organize everybody. We need to get him off the bus. Let's get him off the bus.
Mm-hmm.
There's a fire over there. All right. Take my hat. Who got water? Like, you know,
Got water.
I'm just trying to say that you, you, people just kind of just need to just relax with everything. Everybody needs to kind of just relax and just know that everybody's life experiences are important because that's what makes them them. And everybody should be kind to each other. I went straight off the
no, it's all good, man.
So,
We do have to wrap up soon, but I wanted to offer to you guys that like anytime you guys want to be on this and speak on anything, you will always have a platform to speak. It is the one thing that I know that I can offer you guys,
Word,
because
man.
you guys have so much gold to share with the world, whether that's about your own history or the way that you dance, even just the brotherhood. Like it's really important for me that people can see and hear from you, and not just in the lost pages of like Instagram
Right.
stories and shit like that, you know? Like we're
Yeah,
trying to get
yeah,
something started here where we can all come together, and I really want to help highlight your voices. And if there's any other way that we can help with you guys or with the Philly scene, like Unorthodox always got your back, just let us know,
Word.
you know?
Word out, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother, man. Thank you for having us, man.
Yeah,
You know,
bro.
we already we bought Firelock out for our very first locking event in Philly.
Mhm.
He was like the first name on our list that we wanted to bring out because we felt like it was important for us to start to connect with one another.
Mhm.
Because when I think about locking, when I think about Campbell locking, I don't. I'm at the point right. I think we're all at the point right now where it's not just the hood lockers. You know,
Yeah.
it's you guys. It's there's some lockers in Texas. There's some lockers in Florida. Like there's lockers in Boston, Beantown lockers.
Mhm.
Um, there's so many. Yeah. There's so many
shout out to Flexi
American
too.
lockers. Would you say
I say you got lockers in Detroit right now. Shout out to Flexi too.
Oh
we
yeah.
got lockers in Detroit? Shout
And
out to Flex.
Flexi is originally from the UK.
From the UK,
Right.
That's where we met
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
student of Pat
Mhm.
Cesar and a
Mhm.
couple others,
Yep.
Yes, yes.
Jimmy Williams.
Yeah.
Yep. We yeah. Oh man, we can go. I could talk all day about Flexi. That's my homie. Um,
Mhm.
that's my homie. But yeah, man. I mean, when I think about the locking scene in the U.S., I think about all of us coming together
Yeah.
and trying to push. Because there was a time where people were like, "Yeah, there's no lockers in America," and I'm sitting there in a lock right in front of their face. Like, what you mean?
No, it's actually incredible. Like a lot of people from overseas don't know where to go in America to just meet this generation. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like we are obviously gonna highlight, go see the elders, go talk to the elders, hear their
Right.
stories, and relate your stories with theirs. But there's also the fact that, like, man, go to Philly, you got this amazing group to learn and be with, and
Yeah.
again, like they said, respect and love everybody. And I think that's like one of the big things that I hope that people overseas can see this and hear this and know of you guys a lot better. Like Riot being on stage at SDF, fucking perfect. Like people need to know and see that.
Mhm.
I just wanna pitch in one other thing really quick, and that is, yo, as far as like American representation in overseas lock-in, like you guys were out there in UK B-Boy Champions 2007. Don't think I don't remember that, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and and I saw the disrespect. I saw
yeah.
the disrespect. But the thing is that I think that that's one of those things that we see, and that's one of
Mm,
those things that you guys experience firsthand. So you have a platform, you have a home whenever you want to talk about these things, because we are here for it. Like, dude, I went through a very similar thing. Like, I can't say it's not, it's exactly the same thing as what you guys went through, but I had a very similar issue from one of those very same people that did that to you in the UK in 2006, 2007, around that time as well.
Mhm.
So we go through the same
Yeah.
we go through the same things, even though I don't have always, well, I won't always have the same exact experience,
Right.
but we can come
But you,
together, we can compare notes, and we can
Mhm.
be a community, we can be family.
That's
yes,
it.
yeah,
That's
and this
why.
is. I know we talk about just America, but this is an invitation to the whole entire world.
Mhm.
Don, his dance has the whole world dancing. I
Mhm.
mean, just think about that. Think of like that's like that's like so profound. in the sense like, I mean, for me, because when I look at Don, that's like looking at my uncle. That's like looking at my grandfather and my uncle. Like that's really like how I feel when I talk to him, or when I talk to OG Skeeter Rabbit, when I talk to Tony Gogo. I feel like I'm talking with my uncles. Like that's how I literally
Yeah.
feel. So to be able to look at somebody that looks like me and know that he did this and everybody's doing it. Like, come on, everybody. Come on. We the buck gotta stop somewhere. We gonna have to come together, have a come together moment and
Right.
for the future.
Yeah, that's why for me, like with this movement that's happening right now, my focus is on our generation and the ones moving forward while keeping an open ear for our elders, right? But I can't change the way that anyone, especially older than us, will think or speak or what their stories are. But I know
Right.
that for us, like we are only speaking our truths, and I can start there with us. And really quick, I want to share another message that came from Marianne. She says, "One thing Don always would say is there is enough room for everyone in this dance." I like what Eric said, and all I want to add to that is that it is great to tell your story, but please do not speak for Don or situations you
Mhm.
were not there for. I was with
Exactly.
Don before the group was even put together. Before he passed, we had been together for almost 50 years. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. Love.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's important.
Just want to thank y'all again for like, opening your doors to us, always supporting us, always showing love, you know. Um, and everybody out there in the world that support us, or all the people that was there when we first started becoming the Hood Lockers, we ain't talk about Ooze, he was there. He didn't necessarily he was actually in one of the first shows that
Let
uh,
you know. Yeah.
yeah, the Legend show, because I had to go back to London and he subbed in for me, and like he may have not have stuck it out for the whole process, but he was a real pivotal reason on why the Hood Lockers turned into the direction that we went to. All the Face to Flavor, we gotta give shout outs to them. We gotta give shout outs to all the members, all the new members of the Hood Lockers. Lamont Chapman, we met him on the set of American Soul, and like he shared the exact same love that for the original style. Yeah, his direction is like Mr. Penguin, but he has that love for the light of it. He has the love for the character of it, and you know the camaraderie of it. And it was like instant. He was down with us. You know what I'm saying?
Same thing with
Frostbite.
Noel.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
love.
go ahead.
Frostbite has always shown love since we first met him. It was always like it felt like he was in on the team. He was there next to us, like he was on our team, and he wasn't even on our team, but it felt like he was on our team. So we always wanted to put Noel down. He recently got down, but like we've been wanting to do that since the 2000s, the early 2000s. Was
Yeah,
it?
we first, yeah, like
He's already going
long
back and
time
forth
ago,
with
man.
Yeah.
stuff.
Every
And
time I go to, I always link up with Noel.
right.
Always do. Yeah.
And
And also, who else are we missing?
I was gonna say, there's people that support us, like support us and believe in us. They weren't just our students, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, we get students all the time, and take a couple classes or whatever, take whatever. But there's some people who was like, you know what? We may not be able to do this the way they're doing it, but we stand by them. We stand by their concepts and what they believe and what they support. And they were there. They learned. They take it for themselves, and they got better. Tyler, Hungry Ray, the Hood Lockers is expanding, and it's expanding purely off of the love for this whole thing. The same kind of love that we felt when we saw Dime moving, we're starting to see that spread out to the people that surrounds us. And like, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to really truly be down with us. It all it takes is respect, you know. And I'm gonna throw some more names out there. Y'all can help me out too. There's a lot of people that really, really supported us when nobody else was. You know,
Inga B.
Go ahead, go
Inga
for it.
B.
Drew. Go ahead, drop some names,
Inga
bro.
B.
You gotta give
Inga
shout outs.
B.
That is
That's
the
it.
homie.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Oh
factor right there,
man.
man. Go ahead, Ricky.
Drop some
I
names.
mean, who do we miss? you mentioned Buddha Stretch, but he was a long time supporter. Everybody from New York,
Mm-hmm.
supporter, when we were going up to these,
Yeah, Stretch definitely. Stretch is like a
Monsell definitely.
Yep.
I was gonna say Monsell definitely put in a good world wherever you go. But I think
Mm-hmm.
when we were like, you know, like they would let everybody know that Philly got some lockers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so everybody from New York, right from but all the way to Hurricane,
Yep.
was
And
always
Jazzy J, don't forget Jazzy J, man. He was
yeah,
dragging us. Yeah, SoFi was dragging us in front of people like, y'all gotta see these boys. Y'all gotta see it.
he,
Come over here.
he actually bought Fluky Luke to the show. And he bought Fluky Luke. He was like, yo, he dragged Fluky Luke into our dressing room. He was like, yo, I need you to meet these boys. And we
Mhm.
like, that's when we first met Fluky Luke. That was in 2006. That was a couple months before I went to UK Champs.
Mhm. Yeah.
Dude, I don't think that a lot of people know how deep your guys' history
Yeah.
and story is with the sources
Mhm.
among
Yeah,
like the other people that support
um,
you.
yeah, OG Skeeter Rabbit.
Yeah.
Um, OG Skeeter Rabbit, man, he came to L Dub Legends. I think it was 2009 or 2008, maybe 2010,
yeah,
around that. Definitely after ABDC. Um,
Mhm.
but I went to take his class and I introduced myself. He said he needed a pair of sneakers. So I told him, look, we can go to South Street. I can take you to South Street. He was like, come on. So we walked. I took him to South Street. It was me, him, and Gemini actually.
Mhm.
All
Mhm.
three of us. We walked down South Street, got him sneakers, got him food. He was just like pouring so much knowledge and love into me. Like I was just, I was blown away. And also can't forget Dennis Double D.
Mhm.
Dennis, Dennis, Dennis gave us a lot of hidden information, things about his dad that we weren't really too sure about.
Mhm.
He gave us a lot more information, a lot more clarity. You know,
Mhm.
man, I could Sugar Pop.
Yeah. Yeah, about to say we can go on because
yeah.
Sugar Pop is a really, 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 really.
No, bro.
Mhm.
Sugar Pop. Listen, we were in UK. We were in UK in 2004. Okay, we were at Sadler's Wells.
Mhm.
I think it was like some kind of I think it was like a show going on, whatever. We were all outside. A circle had opened up, so
Mhm.
everybody was in a circle dancing. I think I went out and did a lock and run. Maybe Mark went out and did a run. And Sugar Pop was in the circle. I'm sitting down trying to catch my breath, and I get a tap on my shoulder. And I turn around, and somebody just like I just see this DVD like on the side of my face. I'm like, what is this? I look back, and it's Sugar Pop. And he
Yeah.
like, yo, I usually sell these, but here you go.
Yeah.
We went home. We went back to our flat because that's what they call them in the UK, and watched that DVD for the entire summer.
That's it. That's
The
it.
the lessons, the stuff that he was saying
Mhm.
was, I mean, it really was more fuel to get us to be able to love, respect, and honor Don, but
Yeah.
also this entire dance style.
Yeah.
Um, we and Sugar Pop also came back he came to Philly
Yep.
by way of our friend of ours, Kenny Clutch. Shout
Mhm.
out to Clutch, Clutch
Mhm.
Stress, and um, and taught a workshop with all of us.
Mhm.
And so we were able to really like sit down and reconnect with him. And ever since then, like, you know, we've been really cool with Sugar Pop, man. I could go on. Pop Master Fable.
Mhm.
Yeah,
When we used to go the with the house conference in New York back in the day.
Yeah.
When I first started locking, he was like one of the first people came to be like, "Yo, I like what you're doing. I like what you're doing. Keep it going." Like,
Mhm.
you know, I don't care if you're a pioneer or if you're a P. If you go and encourage one person, you do not know how much that means to
Yeah.
that individual. You don't even know where they are in their life or where they came from or where they're going. But all these people have contributed
That's it.
to everything that we are today, and m- we could not thank them enough, man. I mean, we thank God for allowing those people to be in our lives,
Right.
for real.
And we can go on. There's so many people we don't even want to
Yeah,
miss.
so
Clyde
many
Evans, Clyde started, got us, Rennie Harris. We can go on and on. Even like Gemini. I spent a lot of time with Gemini in Malaysia, and let me tell you something. There's a lot of different like opposing opinions with a lot of different people. I know we're supposed to wrap up, but real quick, we're saying all this to say that like we had no barriers. We listened to everyone, and to tell you the truth, everyone pretty much said the same thing to us differently. They were all
Mhm.
saying the same thing. And all they ever wanted to do, we were a bit younger, so we didn't quite understand all the time what the point was at the moment. We always talked about it and kept thinking about it as we matured over the years. But now that we think back at it, everybody gave us the same advice. They were all letting us know that look, you guys are great dancers, but learn, get your information, get your foundation, learn to dance, learn the social dances, and we took it at first like, oh, they trying to say we can't dance, like what they talking about, we can't lap. They were just trying to say, look, you need to take some classes, you need to da 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 da, and they really was just trying to help us. When we realized that, and all that information, and we started using that, that's when we really started getting better. That's when we really started getting better. And again, I had a lot of conversations and a lot of situations with Shabba when he was here. Rest in peace, Shab. And it was all the same. It was all the same. But I'm telling you, like, especially between Sugar Pop and Shab, they gave us they spent time with us. It was like we wanted a class. We just wanted classes. And they looked at us and gave us more than just the class. They made us really look at every single move we thought we knew and gave us a history and a social dance and a whole thing behind every single foundation move we've learned. And it was that point that things changed for all of us. So I want to give a shout out to everybody. Thank y'all all so much for contributing to what we do. But the reason why we're the way we are is because we love and we respect everybody. And we believe that everybody has a story and has something to contribute. And if we really love this dance, if we really love what Don did, we'll all come together and make something happen for the future. I'm done. Thank
That's
y'all.
right.
Sorry.
For sure. Thank you
And
guys.
thank you,
Yeah.
Kai. Thank you, Lil B, for having us, man. We really appreciate this, John, bro. We gotta do this, John, a little bit more. We gotta do this often.
Oh, we got you
Maybe every
guys.
other.
Yeah.
We have way too much to talk about, so we definitely would just hop on and just have some fun. I'd love to
Right.
bring Glitch on after you'll be at Crystallized and hear how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be a great time. Um, I'm looking forward to that. But then also, I know we're just, wrapping things up. I definitely want to give a shout out to Flowmaster because I mean
Oh yeah.
we're going to talk about
Oh,
Jason
yeah, yeah.
and American Soul thing. For all of us, Soul, and that'll probably be another like um podcast for us to like speak on.
Mm-hmm.
But just for going back to what you were saying about like thanking God for placing people in our lives, like Flowmaster was that person that really gave us that opportunity, and it could have gone to anybody, but he really saw something in us,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a very big deal for me. Um, Definitely got a shout out to, I mean, rest in peace to Don, obviously. I think we all had different encounters that even outside of just the and structure of like this dance thing. I mean, I remember the first time we met him at Ill Def Legends, like he was in the shop eating chicken. I remember that was like the first time. You know what I mean? It wasn't a class, and from that moment on, throughout you know history and learning, I think one of the last things for me that I remember profoundly is like when I went to Hip Hop International, like he said specifically to me, he's like, "Yo, you got better." Like for him to say that at that point in my life, it
Mm.
meant so much just from knowing that this person knows everybody. Like everybody wants to talk to Don. And for him to have that kind of like impact, it just it's just testament to how real he is and how how genuine these pioneers are when they really want to like give information and share information. To do is continue to pass that on as a tradition as well, not just information, but how to be decent human beings and care for everybody. Everybody that we named has like cared for us and looked out for us in ways that we probably couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, big shout out to Why Not. He kept the bug in people's ears on tour constantly.
Oh,
All right, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
We'll go to the next on the next one.
I just want to like end this off with saying like what I love about the last like couple of minutes that you guys give so much respect and love to the people that gave you that, and you do it in return. And I want to remind you that at one point, maybe it's now or soon, but you are going to be in the same positions as the way that the elders handed things to you guys. And it's why, starting a podcast like this and trying to travel, like, for me, I'm just trying to pave the way for guys like you, for crews like you, because your stories are so important and impactful. And I hope that people welcome you and respect you and keep calving you, because this everything you guys are bringing is gold, man. Like, as much as we're always gonna give it up to the elders, so one day it's you guys are the elders. You know what I'm saying? So
Can't forget about Alpha, Demeter Joe.
That's it.
Yeah. This man, we can go. Don't blame our minds, not our hearts.
Yeah.
If we can get through that.
And unorthodox, Firecan, when we first started, Firelock and Hurricane was like they were like the those like those cousins you have, and you like every time y'all come to a family reunion, it's like competition. It's like, yo, look at my sneakers, my Jordans is better than yours. Like, I got taller than you. Like, let's go play basketball. Like, it's always been kind of that energy. That's that kind of like that's the at home energy that like, we love. We may not have communicated or conversated over the years so much, but when we walk in the room, it's like, so
Yeah, when I went to Keegan's event in Toronto, Crystallized, that's when I actually had my. That's when I actually, yeah, that's when I actually really got to chill with Hurricane. Because before that, I really didn't get to chill with him. But that's when I really got to chill with him. When I came home, and they'll tell you, I was like, yo, Hurricane is a good ass dude, man. Like, he's a cool, chill ass dude. Like, he man, it just man, I'm just stop.
I love that, y'all. All right, anything closing from you, Kai, before we close this out?
Man, I just love hearing all the love. It's I think it's a really big part of why we do this is to hear the love, to spread the love, and the conversations. Like let's keep pushing forward. Let's keep pushing forward together.
Yes, sir.
Community,
yeah.
and anyone who has thoughts or opinions, like you're watching today and you want to get in touch with the Hoodlockers, um you can go through our Instagram. You can do the like, follow, share of us, and we'll get you in touch. But really, like, we are here to at least get these conversations out into the public instead of in the comfort of our own DMs and phone calls and homes, so that people feel and understand that, hey, we can talk about these things. We can talk about Campbell locking, whatever
Right.
you want to call it, and have grown ass conversations. So
Right.
we
Exactly.
will.
Yeah,
we will.
imagine us having this kind of conversations in like our 20 somethings. It ain't gonna be as eloquent.
I can tell you right now, boy, it'd be nothing but smoke on my screen.
All right, y'all.
Uh,
This is
Thanks,
episode
brothers, man.
13.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank y'all so much. Appreciate y'all.
For
Thank
sure.
you.
This is episode 13 of Let's Talk Locking with Lil B and Kai-Star, with our guests today, the Hoodlockers. We got Riot, Glytch, and Epic. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you for everyone watching tonight. If you're watching the replays, please drop us some comments, give some likes. Make sure you hit up these guys' Instagrams. They also got a website. check them out.
Fly Eagles fly. I'm a huge Eagles fan, so I got to let them know.
Eagles
Oh,
fans. Red October right here.
yep.
Yeah. Nike.
All right, y'all. You have a good night. You guys stay on, but I'm gonna be ending the stream right here. But thank you guys.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Thank you, everyone.
Peace and love.